As a straight man, my life has been immeasurably enriched by the cultural contributions of LGBT writers and composers. I still recall the swell of delight as a youngster hearing the Oscar Wilde quote, "It is always painful to part from people whom one has known for a very brief space of time. The absence of old friends one can endure with equanimity, but even a momentary separation from anyone to whom one has just been introduced is almost unbearable." I recall, too, Wilde as my entree to the fin de siècle lusciousness and style of the aesthetic movement, its motto art for art's sake, casting off the prudish strictures of the Victorian age. I recall reading Christopher Isherwood, whose works were the inspiration for the louche, sexual decadence of the Berlin of the 1920s depicted in Cabaret, and Truman Capote, who brought a chic, refined sensibility to literature and society. From Tchaikovsky's melancholic classical music, to Cole Porter's sensual jazz, to Noel Coward's witty musical style, through the immaculate rolling cadences and uncanny apprehension of the world in the writings of Booker Prize-winning author Alan Hollinghurst, to the musical brilliance and often startling emotional depth of Elton John, to the flamboyance and never-bettered roar and wail of a voice of the Bohemian Rhapsody writing Freddie Mercury, to Douglas Stewart's recent award-winning novel Shuggie Bain, my experience and the wider societal experience has been indelibly informed by LGBT culture. And then there's this steaming pile of vapid, trite, outrageously tacky, soul-destroyingly lame, musically atrocious, shallow synth-pop trash from Sam Smith, a dumpster fire of everything horrific about modern culture. The disco synths and boring melody, which for large parts of the pre-chorus and chorus lingers naggingly around one note, the trashily superficial lyrics, the absence of interesting instrumentation or a stylish groove or a quality hook, just a swirl of fatuous musical tropes and cliches devoid of anything interesting or imaginative. A vibe and subject matter which is basically a dumbed-down, less stylish version of George Michael's Fast Love. Worst of all, an apocalypse of identity politics pseudo-empowerment. Could Sam Smith have gone to the gym or changed his diet with a scintilla of discipline and restraint? Does the world deserve to see pudgy, chubby, big, hairy, sweaty man tits? No, this is body positivity. And to think otherwise or remark upon his physique would be fat-shaming. Is the whole product a toe-curling composite of everything often thought of as inanely campy in LGBT culture, with nothing sophisticated about LGBT culture? No, it's assertive, empowering exuberance, and if you don't think so, you must be queer-shaming. Is it vulgar and ghastly and gratuitous in its sexualization, even by the dumbest of modern music video standards? No, and if you think it is, then you must be non-sex positive, and even sex-shaming. Is it full of the most ridiculously overt predilections like fetishistic preoccupations with people at urinals, golden showers, simulated pissing and piss drinking? Maybe, but if you dislike that, then you must be kink-shaming. Fuck off. Amidst this assault on the senses is some of the most hackneyed and cringeworthy choreography imaginable. The flicks and flourishes, imperious, preening, sensual self-regard, punctuated by frenetic spurts of hand gestures and slides. The bottom-twitching, symbolic gesture of going for a ride. The painfully dated theatrical little shoves of backing dancers, who ridiculously collapse and thrust themselves to the ground in a kind of hyper-melodramatic sexual abeyance. And the hilarious facial expressions of banal shock, the butt slaps, all of this taking place in a set that is a modern-day Sodom and Gomorrah of kitsch, crass vulgarity. You would have to be brain-dead to think this was classy, audacious quality culture on any level, including on the level of capricious camp irony. This is one of the worst things I've ever seen or heard. It makes Harry Styles look like a dynamic pioneer of groundbreaking cultural flair. This week, a host of academics, scientists, and theorists responsible for updating the doomsday clock, a figurative, symbolic prop for how close society is to oblivion, nudged us a mere 90 seconds away from the apocalypse. If they'd waited a few extra days to account for Sam Smith's latest release, they probably would have wound the clock forward by about another minute.